What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Rise. My name is Michael Ciervo. I'm really excited. One of the greatest things I have in my life is my privilege of sitting down in front of people who really inspire me. So, as we know, Ready, Set, Rise stands for real individuals sharing excellence. And when we have a guest of the caliber that we have today, man, it just fills my heart. And it's a good one because I've been trying to get him on this show for quite some time, and it's finally happening. But if there's one word that embodies my next guest, it would be underdog. One word would be underdog. So, my next guest came from, of course, Calgary in Canada, overcame some adversity as an underdog, even went through some of his own insecurities, lack of support from an inner circle, rose through that, worked in a corporate job, and found immense success in sales within a payment services industry. However, he had another calling that kept brewing in his heart, and against all odds, he decided to chase his dreams, lock himself in his room, cut out the social noise and social life, and become the master of his craft. He's going to get into this. He reinvented himself several times and is now created a reputable brand that is taking notice in the music industry, especially down in the United States. His music has been featured by celebrities and has taken it to a number of to number one in iHeartRadio. And his goals hasn't even stopped there. He continues to reach new heights. Please welcome recording artist, electronic pop genius, husband, father, very good friend of mine, and overall amazing human being, my good friend, Mr. Jacktrades.
What's up? What's up,
man? You know what? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. Thank you for getting me here.
I know it's been a while. It's been it's a good opportunity for you to be here because man, you got such a great story. I'm excited to dig deep into it.
Right.
But with every show, we always start off with one quote. Is there one quote that you currently live by that is your motto that gets you through the day, and why?
One quote that gets me through by. There's so many, dude. I don't know if there's specifically one that jumps out. Well, I'm just going to use this. I don't know who it comes from, but it's from my buddy. He always tells me, if you got to do it, you got to do it right.
Right.
Okay. No matter what you do, if you're going to do it, just do it right. Mm-hmm. And he says that, and that's pretty broad. Right? That's pretty broad. Now, whether that's, making music or whether that's, going to the gym, whatever you do, just do it with conviction and just do it right.
And it shows in your work. I mean, for you to hit the levels that you've gotten to, it's interesting. It reminds me of a quote from Michael Jackson. He goes, if you're going to do something, if you can't do anything great, don't do it at all.
No, fair enough.
Something along those lines.
No, I completely agree, man. And I think when I was younger, for me, I always half-assed things. And my dad always used to tell me, hey, listen, you gotta focus. Right. And at that age, when you're in your teenage, you're all over the place. Right. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you're looking for. But as I grew older, it started making sense. Now, I think it started making sense because maybe it was because the type of people I surrounded myself with, just a lot of different factors. And one day it just clicked. Right. So,
we're going to get into your career a little bit later.
Right.
But to break it into the industry that you've gotten into and finding some success now, like walk us let's take a time machine. Let's go back into the DeLorean and zoom back into the time machine. Born and raised in Calgary.
Right.
From an Indian family, Indian descent.
Correct.
I'm from a minority family, a visible minority,
right?
And there's certain expectations, visible, but there's certain expectations, right?
Right.
And so, what goes through your mind, or what goes through your parents' mind when you tell them, you know what, I'm gonna follow a music career?
Well, it's funny. It came later on
in
my life. My parents always wanted me to become like that engineer. As cliche as that may sound, it's like every brown kid, you got to become an engineer. You got to be good at math. You got to be good at science. What sucked for me, it was, being honest, I wasn't that great at math. Mm-hmm. And maybe at that point I wasn't focused enough, or maybe I was just not, into it. And then time went by. I did okay in school. I was not bad. But not your poster, the smart ethnic kid, like the smartest ethnic kid in class, not like, your A plus.
Like you want him on your team. You
Of
want him on your
course.
project. Right.
My teachers always saw potential.
Right.
But they were, but they kind of knew I wasn't really, into it. But anyways, graduated high school, and then, we came around to university. And at that point, my dad was like, so what are you going to do now? Are you going to do engineering? And I sat back and I was just honest with myself. And, I thought about it and I've said, I'm going to do business, right? Commerce. And he's like, that's random. Well, that's what I want to do. And I got myself into doing a dual course. I started doing hotel management, and then I graduated with a business degree. So yeah, there you go. Not your poster, doctor or an engineer. Just graduated out of business school.
It's like how he does it. I like how he does Inception. He's so you're going to be an engineer now?
Yeah, I know.
You're like,
I
no,
know.
Dad.
I know.
So and tell me a little bit about you have siblings as well.
I do.
Right.
Yeah, I got 2 siblings. One graduated to be a pilot. What a time, right?
Right.
Right. It's just there's no opportunity right now just because of COVID, and we all know how airlines are going. The other is a geophysicist. So yeah, he was supposed to be an engineer, but he became a geophysicist instead. Alberta, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of opportunity. So yeah, that's what they do, man. It's cool. My youngest brother is also into music production. Okay. Good producer, but super lazy. So
the reason why I bring up your brother is because, first of all, and I know you're going to go deep into this, but your brother at one point in time says, if you ever get signed on a record label, he's going to change his name. So what's his name right now?
Well, I think I need to go back and I need to figure that out with him. Yeah. But it was basically, it's when you're in arts and when you're in the music business in Calgary, it's a far-fetched dream.
Right.
Obviously, right? Because there's not a lot of music producers out of Calgary that have signed to really good labels. And for me, they always saw this dude with a computer doing God knows what, because they would always ask me, hey, listen, where's your music? And I'm like, I'm working on it.
Yeah, right.
Right. And there's it's, anyways, I know we'll get into it, but they always used to come up and be like, well, what are you doing? Are you doing music? I'm like, yeah. And they would go out and they're like, oh, are you coming up? I'm actually doing music. And then it became a joke, right, in the family, where it's like, he's doing something, but we don't know what he's really doing.
Is he really doing music?
Really
he's alone in
music?
his room.
Yeah.
The door is locked and there's no sound.
Right. So for me, it was sort of like, it was a far-fetched dream. And I don't think a lot of people can really understand because for them, that's far-fetched, right? Mm-hmm. That's not reality. Reality to a lot of people is do your 9 to 5, go to school, do your 9 to 5, get your salary, and that's it. Right. For me, I wanted to do more. So I know I was chasing a dream, and I believed in myself. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody else did, but I believed in myself. A lot of people say they do, but I believed in myself, and I just went for it.
Was there like a tipping point in your life where you said, okay, I'm going to do this? Because oftentimes it starts off as a hobby.
Right.
And there's always a TSN turning point where you're like, whoa, I'm actually pretty good at this.
Right.
This might be a career. Who knows? Like,
right.
When did that happen? Because I know that I was reading your bio.
Yeah.
So 2010?
Yeah, pretty much.
So around 2010, you really start to dig deep in it. And
yeah, I started messing around with it.
But even when the show started,
yes.
You mentioned that there was someone who taught you, how your journey into music is an interesting one. So walk me through it.
Well, it started with I think was it 2010? I think it was 2010, and I used to be a DJ prior to that.
Okay.
I started off DJing first, and then the music production came after. And then I was just like, I'm going out to these clubs and I'm playing all this commercial radio stuff. And I always loved electronic music right from the time I was a kid, right? Because it was cool. People used to call it names back in the day like techno, whatever. And I always wanted to be that kid that was a little different. So I heard, I was never into like the pop stuff. I was always into like the underground, like
deep house,
Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, you can call it different names.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the next step from growing from a DJ is obviously the evolution of becoming a producer. So for me, it was just like, now that I'm playing someone else's music, I actually want to play my own, right? And at that point, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? So you look it up and you're like, A, you need software, B, you need to learn the software, and then go from there. And at that point, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
So I went to Kijiji because I think Kijiji was still a thing back then. I think it was early days for Kijiji, right?
Yeah.
So I went in there, I typed in, and I was like, music producer Calgary. And nothing really came up. And then I started tweaking it, and I put music production Calgary. And then I see this one dude who posted saying, taking classes for music production. There was no address. There was no information whatsoever. He said, text me. Okay. And I'm like,
no address, nothing.
It's just like, he had this website that I went to, and you just knew the website, you go to the website, it's like this one page, it's like black, and it was just weird, man.
Sketchy.
It's sketchy. So I was just like, no, you know what? I'm going to go through, because I don't really have a lot of opportunity, here, because nobody really is doing it. So I shot him a text, and this dude's like this Russian dude, right?
Yeah.
Older Russian dude hits me up, and he texts me back, and he goes, yeah, come see me at like 8:30. I still remember, I don't know if I have the text, but he's like, see me at 8:30 at this place.
Right.
But don't park close to the house. And I'm going, okay, all right. So I'm in Southeast somewhere, and I park like a couple of blocks, before his house. Text him, see this dude just walking, he's like, hold on, I'll come get you. And I'm like, okay, great. He comes in, he walks towards me, and he's like this 6'1", 6'2" tall Russian dude, and he's like, follow me. And I'm like, where are we going? And he's like, we're going to my place. I'm like, okay. We go to his place.
So first of all, before you dig deep into the story, is there
Right.
any point in time where you're like, I got to text my parents or my wife or somebody, because if I disappear, right?
You know what? I did actually tell my dad that I'm going to see this dude. And my dad's like, who is this dude? I'm like, no, some dude that's just on the internet. And he was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I actually texted my dad, said, I got here. The dude's walking up to me, and we left it at that.
Right.
Then we go to his place, and then it's a house. It's a regular house. He's like, come down to the basement. And I'm like, okay, great. We go down to his basement. He's got like this laptop. He's got like these speakers, just like a basic setup.
Right.
But for me, my mind was blown because I've never seen like a studio, right? So he starts off and he goes, okay, lesson 1 starts today. And I'm like, okay, great.
Right.
What are we doing? And he's like, this is the software, and this is how it all happens, right? I don't remember what he was playing for me, but whatever he played for me and the fact that he actually made it blew my mind away. And I'm like,
wow,
yes, this is what I want to do. So that's how it started.
No way. What's his name?
Andre.
Do you still connect with this guy?
He's on my Facebook.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's on my Facebook. I haven't talked to him in a minute now, but yeah.
Does he know the level of success?
I don't think he does.
Like, wouldn't that be amazing if you just shot up and
Yeah,
you're accepting a Juno Award?
I know.
Like, shout out to Andre if you're watching this.
Shout out to Andre. Year 3, year 4, he started seeing me progress.
Mm-hmm.
He once texted me and he's like, oh, I see you're doing some things. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And that was it. And then I think he left to go back home, or I don't know what happened, but we just lost touch.
It's interesting because anyone who's accomplished some significant success, there's always this level of like a humble story.
Of course,
you're grinding because you don't you're not born unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. But even that, you're not successful.
No, and I'm not a musician. I'm not a musician too.
But you're doing gigs for $75.
Dude, I know. At some club in Airdrie.
Is that right?
I remember I started this DJ school in Calgary. It was called, what was it called again? It was so many years ago. But anyways, they ran the music school out of Axe Music. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody remembers Axe Music. It's in Calgary. It used to be where you could get your gear and get all your stuff. So I met this dude, and he, and I was fascinated by it. And he was like, "Oh, I'll give you lessons on vinyl." So old school, man, like the Tech 1200s back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, back
Stanton needles.
Yeah,
and
the basics, man.
your rain mixer. Right. Yeah.
So that's how it started. And for him, like I was doing my classes, passing my tests, and then he would, give me opportunities to go and play in Airdrie or some pub out in the Southwest. Right, $75, man, for like 3 hours.
Did you get some free food at least, or
no?
Is there
so free?
Just play your music. Shut
that
up.
was it. That was it. And I remember going to these shows because nobody really was paying attention. And at that time, I think Dead Mouse was on the come up.
Right.
And I would try and sneak in a Dead Mouse track, and literally people would just stop, give me the look, and then I immediately had to change my music back to country music. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so are you still DJing right now, or just more so producing?
Obviously because of COVID-19, there's no shows. I did DJ last year. We had a show. I actually did my first event. We actually threw the party. So we were the promoter. We did the show.
Nice.
And I never did a show before that. I have a DJ buddy, a DJ friend who used to tour the world. And I was like, hey, listen, do you want to come to Calgary and play a show? And he's like, for who? For me. We're going to throw a show.
Right.
We shout out to Just Friends. Just Friends was it was me, my buddy Chris, and Travis. We just got together, not knowing how to put on shows. We said, we just jumped into it and we did it, man. And you know what? People showed up. There were like 200 people, man. 200 people showed up to the show.
Nice.
It was stressful. It was crazy. I don't know if I'll ever put on a show again, but hey, we learned a lot.
I think you can't put a price tag on that experience.
Right? Oh, it was amazing,
You learn stuff.
Yeah, no, you learn. What you learn basically is, the way it works in our business is like you have an agent, you have a promoter. Promoter is the guy who works at the club. You got the agent that, takes care of the booking. But we learned what it really takes to book a DJ and, whether you're going to make money or not. So that was huge for us, right? So for me as an artist now, if someone's going to book me at a show, my price has to be fair because I don't want the club to lose money on me. So you learn a lot, right?
Yeah, you develop this appreciation for the overall bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to feed people.
Of course.
Everyone needs to their slice of cheese, right?
Yeah, no, once we got into the show, we're like, oh, so then we got to pay for someone doing the staging. Oh, then there's lighting. Oh, there's sound.
Security.
Yeah, there's security. There's sound. Like, who's going to, check the tickets? Like, it was literally, there was so much to it. And then the most challenging part was we announced the show, printing, of course, right?
Right.
Printing. But then we had to promote it. We had to get the word out. So run social media ads, flyer, right? Like, so we were out, like me and Chris and my buddy Travis, we were out. It was cold, man. We were out at like minus 20,
Right.
flying cars outside clubs just so that we could get people in. Because here's the thing, right? So we are absolutely new. We've never done a show before. You're actually competing with the big boys, right? And the big boys are going, who the hell are these guys, right? So it's just basically for us to learn and appreciate, what the promoter does, or, how much pressure is on the DJ. Like, how do we draw the crowd? Like, it was crazy, man.
So you mentioned DJing, and you grew up there, and you have some role models and idols.
Of course.
You were telling me once that you actually met a very successful DJ a few years ago and had a shot with him. He's no longer with us.
Which one? So many. Who was it?
Avicii. Was it Avicii?
Oh, dude, it was so funny, man. That was wild. I remember he came out to Calgary, and he was just starting to, like, really, his name wasn't out there.
Right.
But that was before Levels, like his big song. He came out to Calgary, and we were just, he came to the show. It was a really small club, and me and my brother were at the show. We see this dude, this European dude, come up because he has to go just before the headliner. I looked at my brother. I'm like, yo, isn't that Avicii? Like Tim, that's his real name. It's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. So we're fans of music,
Yeah,
right? We're fanboys
you're
back then.
fanboy.
It's like, yeah, it's just like, hey, Avicii, what's up, man? And he was just like super cool. And he was like, yo, what's up? It's like, welcome to Calgary. And he's like, oh, it's effing cold, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, hey, can I buy you a shot? And he goes, oh yeah, for sure, dude.
Right.
I'm like, all right. And that was that. You know, he had a shot and then he went straight on the stage. So it's kind of wild.
You know,
man.
that's sometimes when you meet a celebrity and you realize they're such cool people.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. I surely hope that The Rock is as cool as he really
I hope
is.
so, man. I hope
Imagine
so.
if we meet him and it's like, oh man,
Dude, I would.
you just crushed my view of you.
You know, I think when I meet The Rock, I will shake. And I don't fanboy a whole lot.
I will fanboy with The Rock.
Of course. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, he's like the closest thing to a real life superhero.
He walks into a room and you're like, holy shit. He walks in on camera and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Right. So you meet Avicii. You know, actually, I met him once at he was DJing XS in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a resident there.
Yeah, he was a resident there.
Yeah.
I didn't really know him, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything, but
Yeah.
we got VIP access. We go in there,
Nice.
we're partying. I didn't know who he was.
Right.
And there's like, oh yeah, this is the DJ. I was like, oh hey, that's it.
That was it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? I remember Tiesto was in town years ago, maybe 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, dude. He loves Calgary, by the way. I've heard that he loves Calgary. It's one of his favorite places.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's one of his favorite places to come and play.
He threw a party at the top of, was it called West years ago? It was West.
Oh yeah,
Remember?
the West Rooftop.
Yeah, he threw a party there, and there was maybe 200 of us.
Wow.
There's only 200, and Tiesto was right there.
Crazy.
And this is at the peak of his fame.
I know.
And
that was when his album came out,
Yeah.
I think. I forget. He had a song with Tegan and Sarah, but yeah, that was when his big album came out.
Right.
Yeah, Tiesto's a legend, man.
So you have a relationship with him, or you've like connected with him. How did that start off?
Yes, I have. It was it was after my song called Sideways that came out. We put it out with the label that I'm at right now, Physical Presents, and not expecting anything. Shows up on, one fine day we see that it shows up on his playlists.
Right.
I look at it and I'm like, wait, that's Tiesto's playlist. And
Like biggest DJ in the world.
Godfather.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
legend, right? And it's on his playlist. And it took me a second, so I go on Instagram, give a shout out to Tiesto. Thank you for supporting my track. Obviously, he never responds to it. And then a couple of months later, his manager hits me up and he goes, oh, Tiesto's a huge fan of Sideways. And we'd like you to, send us some music.
Right.
I paused for a second and I just looked at the email just to make sure it was real.
Right.
Right. Because you look up to this, for me in dance music, Tiesto is dance music, right? He is the greatest businessman. He's a legend, dude. Like he's the guy. Like you say DJ, you say Tiesto.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, yeah, that's how his manager came to me, and he has a huge label. So his label manager came up to me, and then I signed a deal with my label. So obviously I had to go back and say, you know what? Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
But unfortunately I can't send you any music. And they're not used to that.
So you had to say no to the greatest DJ in the world.
Well, if he ever watches this, Tiesto, I didn't say no to you. I just said no to your label.
Right.
Just because of my obligation to my label.
You honored a contract.
I did. And just with all due respect. And then one of his other managers reached out to me and he said, hey, we're doing a compilation. Tiesto still likes your music and he wants something from you. To which I reached out to my label manager and I was like, hey, man, this came up. Tiesto wants me to send a song to his compilation. And what do you think? My label manager was like, if it's Tiesto, send it. Right. So that's how, we started going back and forth. Unfortunately, nothing really came out of it. I got rejected.
Right.
3 times, right?
Yeah.
So he rejected me 3 times, but the opportunity to get heard by Tiesto and actually going into your song and seeing that it was actually Tiesto listened to the song and then rejected it was just, was amazing.
Yeah, you're there.
Right? And but that just goes to show that if you push hard enough, right? And if you're consistent and persistent, for me, one of my goals is, yeah, I mean, I got to know now. At some point, I will sign to his record label. Not that it's going to change my world, but just as a challenge, right?
Right. What motivates you?
Rejection.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You're a sadist.
Yeah.
You like pain.
I do. You know what? I do like pain. And I just love when people say, no, this can't be done.
Spoken like a true salesperson.
Dude, for real. Yeah. Somebody tells me it can't be done. There's a way around it.
Right.
Right now, if you tell me, hey, can you go to the moon? And I'll say, oh, and I'll go to the moon. There's obviously it has to be realistic, right?
Right. That's where you set your smart goals and stuff.
Smart goals, yeah. But I think rejection definitely inspires me.
Right. Walk me through a moment where you faced rejection, although you love rejection,
right?
That it almost crushed you.
Well, I think back in 2016, 2017, the music was getting up to the standard of, the music that was out there. And for me, obviously being newer in the scene and not understanding the business, I would go ahead and send out my music to big record labels. Okay. If I had to go 3 years back or 4 years back, I probably would not be doing that, because the way it works with bigger labels is they come to you, you don't go to them, right? So here I am finding contacts of A&Rs that, manage these massive labels, sending them demos, and they're rejecting it. And obviously, I don't think it was because of the music. I think it was because my brand was so new and it wasn't established enough. So they're like,
let's touch on brand a little bit, because brand is a huge thing.
Absolutely.
And you weren't always Jacktrades.
No, I wasn't.
There was another word. It starts with B.
I was Breakdown. Not many people know that, but I was actually a trance producer before I was the Jacktrades brand. And that started off for my love of trance music. Right? I was always drawn to trance music. I loved Armin van Buuren, the old Tiesto, who else? Paul van Dyk, the legends, right?
Swedish House Mafia guys.
There's a bunch. And I always started off as a trance producer. And for me, trance was like the emotional journey and these 9-minute songs and 10-minute songs, literally like these, drawn out, you go through emotions. And for me, it was all about the emotion, right? So that's what I got into. And the name Breakdown came in as a joke because trance has long breakdowns, right? Yeah. Literally like 3 minutes long sometimes. And I was like, oh, you know what I'll do? I don't know. I can't think of an alias. Maybe we'll just go with Breakdown. It was literally spelled BRKDWN, right? And I started off with that.
How long was that?
I think that was like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Around there. Good friend of mine, shout out to Limon. He and I, we met on a forum, like a masterclass forum, and we just started connecting with each other. And he knew I was always into trance, and he was signed to a smaller label. And he was like, hey, man, we want to remix. Would you be interested in remixing a song? And I'm like, all right. And that's how things started off. Right. So I remixed him. I started seeing that the song was getting played by not A-list DJs, but just DJs in the scene. And that's how I was like, wait, there's something here, right? And then I started doing remixes. I did an original that did fairly well. And then, then we switched over to Jacktrades.
So what was it? Why did you switch over to Jacktrades?
See, the trance music scene, it's a very close circle. Right. And one of the things in the trance music scene, I had to be honest, and I think I mentioned this to you before. I had to sit back, listen to my own music, and just be completely honest with myself, thinking, okay, is there anything special in this? Right. It's good. It's good. It'll get support. But is it going to change my life? Right. And at that point, the competition, and even till date, they have amazing producers, engineers. The competition, man, is crazy, right? So, and plus, not a whole lot of opportunity, right? So I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe we play it smart. Maybe we don't do trance anymore. And I had a friend, a good friend, my mentor. He told me, dude, why don't you try doing? I know you like the poppy stuff. I know you're not gonna, I know you're not gonna admit it, but I know you like the poppy stuff. Why don't you try doing like deep housey dance pop stuff? Much easier. The production on trance is usually pretty complex, right? It is like there's so much going on. Dance pop, deep house, you got few tracks. It's catchy, right? And it's mainly it's very song driven. It's very vocal based, right? So for me, I always knew deep down I did like pop music, right? And
so it wasn't a moment where did you ever feel like your original followers said, Breakdown just sold out?
No, I don't think a lot of people know I actually did that. I don't think Breakdown made enough of an impact for me to get to that point. Yeah. Right now I can go back and say, hey, Jacktrades was actually Breakdown, and people are like, yeah, right. Yeah. But it was, I did a few songs and then just rebranded myself just like that. Right. And then just switched over to dance pop.
As an artist, it is your art form that you're creating. So for you to have a mentor to say, hey, you might want to go this way, is there a moment where you're like, no, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to paint the Mona Lisa. Right. You must have a lot of humility to be able to trust this mentor's advice.
Of course. I actually had a lot along the way. A lot of people from the industry that I talked to, got feedback from, and one of the things I think I'm good at is just sitting back and watching trends, right? And watching how the industry's going. And at that point, I kind of saw trance, and it was sort of like on a flat curve, right? Nobody was really progressing. Nobody was really breaking through. There was not a whole lot of opportunity. And obviously, when somebody gives you that suggestion, you're going, wait, are you trying to sway me the wrong direction here? Or, you just got to sit back, because it depends on who it's coming from. If it's coming from someone that has been in the industry for 20 years or 15 years, they know what they're doing. And if they have a successful track record, they know exactly what they're doing. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, so it's huge intellectual, intellectual humility to be able to do that, right?
Absolutely.
But I also think what it does point out about you is that you can adjust, you can pivot. And when I look at, let's take Madonna, for instance, great example. Yeah. Madonna, when you look at the fullness of her career, she has so many different styles. Right. And I think an artist has to be able to pivot and change their style. Right. And it looks like you saw the whole Wayne Gretzky quote, skate to where the puck is going to go. Right. You didn't think that trance is going to go, well, hey, there's a big market here.
Absolutely.
I could succeed there.
Absolutely. And I think at that time, there were a few A-list artists doing dance pop music. Obviously, they had bigger budgets, right? And they were, every time like you have a David Guetta or Tiesto do dance pop, they're going to kill it. Right. Or even Armin, right? Yeah. So for me, at that point, I didn't see a lot of artists at my level or even like a step above doing like dance pop. So I saw that as a huge opportunity, right? And I'm going, you know what? Maybe if we go this route, there might be something there. Right. At some point, you just got to trust yourself. And that's exactly what I did.
Let's go back to branding, because I know that you do your own stuff.
I do.
Walk me through the experience of you walking around in Vegas with a T-shirt.
Which one?
Your brand. Yeah, and how did you come up with the logo?
Dude, I've done so many.
The Jacktrades brand.
So the Jacktrades brand came in from, people ask me about this story, and a lot of people are like, what is he talking about? I knew I had to do an alias that spoke to who I was, me as a person, right? And I always believed that the people that succeed are the jack of all trades and master of none, right? The people that are master of just one, that's all they do for the rest of their life. So if you're an amazing programmer, guess what? You're just going to be the most amazing programmer in your life. Nothing beyond that. I think of, I read this quote on a Timothy Ferriss book that basically said, if you need to succeed, you need to be the jack of all trades, right? You take someone like Apple, the CEO of Apple or the CEO of Microsoft. They're not the best programmers in the world, right? But they understand they understand the whole operation. So I saw the quote on the book, and I was like, oh, jack of all trades. But I'm like, jack of all trades sounds too
long.
Too long. So I was like, oh, jack and then trades. And I'm like,
Right.
all right, it's Jacktrades. Right. So I went online, I'm looking it up, and there's nobody called Jacktrades. I'm like, this is perfect.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be your Jacktrades. Cool. And that's how that came about. And then I started believing my own lie, where I got my logo printed on a tank top and wore it to Vegas. Right. I remember it was on the WestJet flight too. The air hostess comes up to me, a flight attendant comes up to me, and she sees me with my laptop and my headphones, working on music, wearing my Jacktrades logo tank top, and wearing a bomber jacket on top. She's like, "Are you like a DJ guy?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." At that point, I had no music out, nothing out.
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I am that. Yeah, I am that DJ guy."
Right.
And I was literally believing my own lie.
Right.
And
But was it a lie though, or was it just the future?
No.
It just hasn't happened yet.
I think it was wrong to say believing in all. I was believing in myself.
Good.
Right. I feel like, it's not the fake it till you make it. I feel like if you act as if, you become. Right. So for me, I had to first believe it in myself that I was Jacktrades. I had to live. Right. And I'm pretty sure my friends that were at we were actually at a bachelor party. They watched me, they looked at me, they're like, I'm sure there were jokes about it.
Oh, for
right? 100%, right? Like, who does this guy think he is, right? And that's, at that point, everybody knew I was doing, like I said, like my family, everybody knew I was doing music production, but nobody really knew like that, if that makes sense.
Right.
So.
It's kind of that became your alter ego.
Absolutely.
And you really embraced that
alter
ego.
Yeah. I did. I think I believed it, and I knew deep down, no matter what people say, this is going to work. I don't know how it's going to work, but this is going to work.
So it's similar to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, where he does talk about that visualization. He says,
absolutely.
Like, imagine how you feel when you win the Junos.
Of course.
Right? So you're doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I also read a book called Secret. I know a lot of people crushed the book, and they're like, oh, it's garbage. It's, that can't be true. You're going to sit by yourself, and you're going to think you're going to get $1 million, and the $1 million are not going to show up. I think what the book basically tells you is if you believe in something and you put it out there, it's going to work out, right? I'm just a dude from Calgary, man. The record labels I've signed to, the success I have, I still don't consider it success, right? I just think this is just, things have just started, they're basically just scratching the surface, right? There's nobody else in the city that's done it, right? Or in Alberta. Right, forget Calgary, Edmonton. So for me, I believed in it, and I just jumped into it, man. Because you have to, right?
Speaking of books, because you've quoted a couple books, like what are you currently reading?
I think the one book, I think I talked to you about it too, the Jay Shetty book.
Oh man, Jay Shetty's the man.
What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you're like, it's think like a monk.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So it's called Think Like a Monk. And you're like, oh man, like I don't want to be a monk.
Of course.
In your mind, you're thinking that's not the way I want to think. You go through the book, and it's really practical ways on how to live life.
Right.
So no, I love it. I think Jay Shetty's doing great stuff.
Jay Shetty's doing amazing stuff. The other book that I really like,
should give Jay Shetty a quick shout out. Jay Shetty.
Shout out to Jay Shetty.
You can look here and just
shout out to Jay Shetty.
Shout out to Jay Shetty.
The other book that I really liked was The Subtle Art of Not Giving.
Yep. Mark Munson.
Yeah, it was a great book.
Really?
Yeah, I just think that there's so many things, and you got to reread the book, just because there's so many different concepts that you can apply to your life. And I think when you stop giving a shit about what others say, and then you just follow your own journey, things work out, man. You
know what I love about you, and we have these conversations that can last hours.
Absolutely.
You said a few years ago that there was one thing that changed your life, one activity that changed your life, and you said it was reading.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just started reading.
I think reading, and it's funny because when I was a kid, I hated books. I did, man.
Yeah, me too.
I hated books. And I think I hated books because nobody really came in with a real value proposition of, why you should read books. Everybody said read a book, but nobody really explained why. And it all started for me a few years back when I picked up this 4-hour work week. And I could not tell you, dude, how I came across that book. Maybe it was on YouTube. There was something going on. I don't know, man. I think it was crazy, right? 4-hour work week. Right. And I was working a corporate job. I'm not going to say where, doing my 9 to 5, behind a desk. And for me, I was obviously doing music at that time. But I was kind of bored. And I don't know, like I said, I can't remember where. I picked up the book and I started reading it. And I think that changed. I think that opened up a new world for me. Now, can everyone have a 4-hour work week? That's not the emphasis of the book. That's not the moral of the story is you can basically live your life the way you want to live it on your terms if you just make a few changes. That's what the book was about, right? Efficiency, right? Believe in yourself, believe in your goals, have clear objectives. So that started the journey, man.
Speaking of changes, you mentioned the word change. If there's anything looking back in your career in your life, was there any point in time where you wished you changed it? You could have acted a certain way or a different way.
I actually was talking to a friend of mine about this, and I was telling him, "Hey, man, if I could change, I would have changed a lot of things." And he actually told me, "You know what? It's good you did not change it." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you learn things along the way. Now I can go back." Now when I sit and think back about things I did, some of the things not super proud of, but I think that's made me more aware, and it's given me more learning for me. It's not learning. I think there's been growth. Yeah,
So give me an example of something you're not proud of, but it was a learning experience because, we've all done something.
Right.
But if you could recycle it into a lesson, like I've done some stuff that I'm not proud of.
Right.
But it made me better.
Right. I think going back to, in terms of music, when I used to send records out to major record labels, like the bigger ones, it's not that I'm not proud. Had I known that that you shouldn't be going and, shooting messages to A&Rs without even starting your brand, I probably would not have done that. The way you start off in the business is you start small. You go to the smaller labels first. You build your brand. You're consistent. And then eventually your name gets out there and the big labels come to you. But now the learning is when I see up and coming producers, I see them just like me, right? Hey, man, I need to sign this record to this big record label. For me, based on what I went through, I stopped them and and I say, hey, you got to pause for a second because based on my experience, this is what happened to me. I don't want you to get into the same position because once you do that, and you don't want to burn your bridges, right? Let them come to you. So it was sort of like, you know what? I've gone through this myself. Would I change that? Probably. But since I could not change it, now I'm able to help other people.
What's one piece of advice you wish someone told you when you first started? Because it's a pretty cutthroat, ruthless industry.
It's not a race, it's a marathon.
It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a race, it's a marathon. We talked about this. Yep. Obviously, the marathon has first, second, and third place. But I think in the music business, there's no such thing as overnight success. Rare. There's got to be a lot of factors, money, so many different things behind it. But I think it's you have to put in the time, man. A lot of times for me too, as much as I know this, I'm like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. Like I told you, we submitted a song to the Junos. Do I want the nomination? Absolutely. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? It's only my third year as Jacktrades.
Right.
Right? And I know at some point, if I'm consistent with the music that I put out, eventually it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And that's that relentless belief in yourself.
Absolutely.
That it's going to happen.
Yeah, if it can happen once, it can happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, oh, I wrote a hit song, right? I don't know if I should release it because it's COVID now.
Right.
Right? Somebody said it on a podcast. Well, if you made one hit song, you can make another hit song.
Right.
Right?
Right.
What's stopping you from writing more music?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Has there ever been a moment in your life where you just felt like you had no clue what you're doing? Like completely, like, what am I doing? What did I get myself involved in?
Like right now, yeah.
Is that right?
Well, I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing.
Mm.
And I think, and that's just because there's so much to learn along the way, right? I still know I can do things better. Now, whether that's a better song, whether that's, better marketing, everything is a learning process. So you don't need to know everything. I think that's the bottom line, right? You don't need to know everything. You just jump into it and just do it.
That's good advice, because oftentimes we think, or we put too much pressure of being a perfectionist.
Of
that
course.
analysis paralysis type of thing.
I know.
Just go out and do it.
Just go out and do it, man.
Tell me something. I'm just going to go back in a time machine, and we'll go back into the future.
Right.
Someone loaned you $1,600.
Yeah, my dad.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so God, I owe him so much money. The $1,600 was there was a course in Toronto for music production, and at that time I was making okay money. I wasn't making a lot of money back then. So, I go up to my dad and I'm like, "Hey dad, there's like a 3-day course. I want to pay, it's $1,600. Can you lend me $1,600? And he's like, "What is it about?" I'm like, "Oh, it's music production." He paused for a second and he's like, is it gonna work well for you? Like, is this something that has a lot of value? And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And he's like, "Okay." Give me the $1,600. And I flew out to Toronto, man.
Yeah.
I flew out to Toronto. This was back in 2012, 2013. I think my parents really, man, really supported me a lot, just because they kind of knew that I did have a corporate job. So it wasn't like I was only pursuing music, right? So they kind of knew that he has a job to fall back on if this does not work out. Obviously, it was stressful doing two things at the same time, but somewhere my dad knew, saying, "You know what? He's already got a job. He's got a good job. He's doing well for himself. Yeah, I'll lend him the $1,600.
Your dad's given you some advice throughout the years. He said something to you once. I mean, you paraphrased it, but I know there's an F-bomb somewhere. And
he said a lot of things to me, man. You want to just...
it's like something along the lines of, he says, if you want to fucking do it, just do it, or something like that. Yeah. Just do it. Like, yeah, so he really supported you.
Yeah, he did. At one point, he even said, "Hey, listen, if you want to go to LA, fucking go to LA.
That's something.
You want to fucking go to LA, just fucking go to LA."
Yeah.
And at that point, it was kind of like, for me, that was the time. It was like, okay, should I just screw my corporate job and go live in a small place in LA, potentially with roommates, sleeping on a couch and pursuing my dream, or do I just stay at my corporate job and find a way to make it work? So,
and you somehow found a way to make it work.
I did,
but with the help of parents, and it's interesting because ethnic parents, like visible minorities, they expect so much of their children because of the sacrifice they did to get here.
Of course.
So when they're like, "Hey, he's gonna gallivant and be a DJ,"
yeah, I mean, they always knew I had this thing for DJing, from the time I bought my turntables, playing shows, I used to play shows on New Year's. They kind of knew I always had this passion, but they didn't really know where it was going to take me. right? Like my mom still asks me, so how is that music thing going? And I'm like, what do you mean, how is it going? It's going, right?
If you're on stage accepting an award,
Yes.
and you look out in the audience and you see your dad staring at you,
Yep.
what are you going to say to him? And like, if
What
you
am I
could
gonna-
say something
You know
to
what I
him.
would tell him? I fucking did it, Dad.
Yeah. Like,
You know? I'll now repay you your $1,600 back. Because it's so funny. My mom always brings it up. And she's like, oh, you know, you still haven't paid me those $1,600. And I told her, Mom, when I make it,
yeah,
I'll give you $1,600. And that's where she will always come up. Whenever she would see me, or whenever she sees me, she's like, have you made it? I'm like, not yet.
not yet.
I'll make it.
But, you know, that's like Grant Cardone always talks about that, live in poverty or something. Like
course.
always live in, like, you need to be hungry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now see, for the thing with musicians is everyone has a sad story, right? Obviously you have, I was in LA, I was, struggling.
Yeah. Starving artist story.
Starving artist. I ate mac and cheese. For me, I'm not going to say I was privileged. I just had better opportunity, right? My parents came from a good place. They're both educated, middle class, good upbringing. And I think somewhere along the line, that actually helped my music career.
If you could stare in this camera right over my shoulder and tell your parents something, what would you tell them?
What would I tell them?
Yeah, they're going to watch this at some point in time.
Thanks for everything, Mom and Dad. I really appreciate it. I do, because without their support, this would not be possible. Nothing would ever be possible. I wouldn't be here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think we don't thank them enough. Just a lot of times, I think in our culture, there's no, I love you, Mom, I love you, Dad. There's not a whole lot of that.
Right.
It's understood.
Right.
Was there tough love? There was. But I think it's all worked out, man.
Awesome.
So,
we're going to wrap it up a little bit, but, I was scrolling through social media, and one of the things that I always find interesting is that you're becoming big in the U.S. You're becoming big, right? And eventually,
right,
when you have a fairly large fan following,
yes,
describe them for me.
It's a lot of women.
Right.
It is a lot of women.
Right.
And I think it's the type of music that I make.
Right.
Right. It's very easygoing, very relatable.
Right.
A lot of the music I write is sad music.
Okay.
Right. It's about heartbreak. It's about being emotional, being in a bad relationship. And it's okay. I've had my ups and downs in relationships. I think that comes from a personal space for me personally. And I think, as much as I want to write a happy song, I find myself going back to writing sad songs. I think it's just something that, naturally
brings out this authenticity.
Yeah, I think, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
What does your wife think about you having all these fans?
She is okay with it for some reason. She's all right.
Good.
She seems all right.
Because you are and you will be a well-known celebrity. It's bound to happen. It's already happening.
You
know that. We know that. You're big on social media. People will start recognizing you.
Hopefully.
So, like you recognize this guy, right? Tell me about this experience.
Yeah.
Because you had to. That's you. Walking up to celebrity, right?
That was me.
So what was that?
Not knowing, knowing who he was.
Okay.
But it was at LAX. I was with my buddy David, and he walks in. This dude walks in, and I look at him, and I see a couple of people going up to him, and me and David were in the waiting lounge, and I remember that was WestJet, and we're just waiting for WestJet. He was going to Vancouver. And I remember I looked at him for a second. I'm like, David, I know this dude from somewhere. And David's like, yeah, he's got a really good personality, right? And I'm like, yeah, he does. Who does he remind me of? And I watch a lot of AGTV, and I love those shows, right? Buying and selling homes, or fixing your homes. It's something I do on my pastime. So I was like, oh, wait a second. That's where I knew him from. And it was, what was the show again? It was,
Love it or
love it or list it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I knew him from. And I was like, dude, you're that guy.
Right.
And I'm like, no wonder people are walking up to you. Because at first when we started talking to him, we're just like, oh, you're just waiting for your flight? Whatever. But then David comes up to me, dude, something about his personality. And this dude looks familiar.
He has this aura.
He does. And I was like, whoa, it is that dude. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's sick.
That's going to happen to you, man. People are going to walk up.
Dude, I've had a few people walk up to
Yeah?
me. I have. It's kind of strange.
Okay.
It feels kind of strange because you're not used to that kind of attention. It was cool. But but it was an interesting feeling.
You know, one of the things I love about you is that you have this humility and you always want to learn from other people,
Absolutely,
mentors.
man.
This is a great photo and just describes me of you so much.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because you know what, you're just absorbing the knowledge that's in when I look at that picture.
Yeah.
What's going on in your head?
That's my buddy Chris. He's an amazing DJ. He's
well, like what's going on there? Because it tells me a story.
So we both were doing a set together. So we were playing together, and this was me after many years going back to the DJ turntables again. So Chris was like playing shows on a regular. He was doing, he would open for all the DJs. Great DJ. And he was like, yo, let's just do a back-to-back set, right? Obviously, this was the show we did last year. This was where we got my friend out to come and play. And Chris was like, listen, just go back-to-back with me. If something does go wrong, we'll fix it, right? We had a few things. We had a few hiccups. He came in. He saved the day.
Yeah.
but yeah, it was just basically, when you are practicing at home, or at a studio, but when you're actually going in front of the crowd,
right,
you can practice as much as you want. But when you go in front of the crowd,
nerves
in the darkness, right, all you have are these CDJs, and you don't want to make the mistake of, pressing pause or skipping to the next track. So Chris was like, let's just go back to back. I know you used to DJ before. Let's just do this together so it goes smooth. And we were playing just before the headliner came in. So for me over there, just watching Chris, because we had a bunch of songs queued up, and then Chris would tell me, dude, let's not play this song. Let's play this other song. Just understanding, learning again, watching the crowd and, how you do a warm-up set. It was just really nice to learn, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
We talked. It just sounds like there's so many people who have helped you along the way.
100%,
Chris
man.
and your parents and
dude,
your supporters.
Like so many people in the industry. There's so many to name, man.
Yeah.
So many.
There's tell me about the support you get from this person.
Oh, dude.
And what's going on in that picture?
She puts up with everything, man. She has always, I think, believed in my music. Even though she does not listen to my music a whole lot, I think she's always been there for me. She always puts up with, me going to the studio, spending hours, flying out to Toronto, flying out to LA. She manages everything, and she's always been there. And I think for me, to have someone as understanding as that, especially being in this industry,
right,
is huge.
It's ultimate trust.
It is the ultimate trust. It is absolutely the ultimate trust, because in our business, we're always around women. There's drugs. There's, and not a lot of people talk about it. There's alcohol. There's drugs. There's women. And the entertainment business is all about that, right? But for me, it's always just been about the music. Right? Always has. And for me, I don't care about the alcohol. I don't care about the drugs. I don't care about the women, right? It's just, I want to go in. I want to play my music. I want to connect with my fans.
Right.
And I want to leave.
Yeah.
Right?
Authentic.
Right? That's it. Because I think in the entertainment business, a lot of people, based on your personality, are driven by a few things. Some do it for the wrong reasons. Some do it for the attention. Some do it for the drugs. Some do it for the women. So,
what do you do it? What do you do it for?
Dude, what I do it for, when I get an Instagram DM from a random person, God knows where, and tells me they love my song so much and they've had it on repeat, for me, that's why I do it. Man.
Yeah. You know, everyone has their own life soundtrack.
Yes.
Right? And maybe your song is their soundtrack as they're going through something in life.
Right.
Right. So we are almost, wow, that's the fastest hour we've been through. But so we're going to shift gears into something called the Rise Round.
Okay.
And so the Rise Round are questions that are pressing, that our fans want to really know about who's behind you. And it's just very fast questions.
Right.
First thing that pops in your mind, authentic. You're going to love
sure.
it, right?
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, ready, set, rise. Here we go.
Okay.
Number 1, DJs have this amazing power to control the crowd.
Yes.
If you had a special superpower, what would it be?
Special power. What would that be? You got me. Hold on. Special power. That would
This is
be
question number 1.
question number 1. Special power. Know if they're digging the music or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
the one thing about DJ is to read the crowd. And in darkness, there's not a lot of times, unless they're moving or, read the crowd, man.
okay. So
That's
mind reading.
mind reading, of course.
So I used to DJ back in the day. There was a movie that turned me on into DJing. It had Tupac Shakur.
Yes.
And it was called Juice.
Yes.
What's your favorite DJ movie? Because I know I had to drag this out. You know where I'm good. You know where I'm going, right?
It is the cheesiest movie that ever came out. It was the Zac Efron movie called "We Are Your Friends."
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the movie, man. That was the movie. Okay.
This is greatest DJ movie of all time. This is it for you.
That was, yeah, in my opinion, the greatest cheesy DJ movie. You know what? Okay, I think the movie had like a fire soundtrack.
Right.
And some of the songs really inspired me. So, yeah, definitely that's, yeah, I mean, I know after whoever's watching this, they're all going to be judging me, but that's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
If you could play in any venue, anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Vegas.
Okay. What club?
At the Hakkasan.
Oh, nice. That's
At the
Tiesto's.
Oh, yeah, Hakkasan, man.
That's it. That's where it's at.
For sure.
You've been known to hit the gym pretty hard, right?
Yes.
You got these huge biceps.
I used to have them. Yeah.
I don't know. Last time I heard they're about 17 inches in circumference. I don't know what they are now.
Yeah, I think they've gone to like 15, 14 and a half. Yeah.
Who do you think would win in an arm wrestle? You or Kevin Hart? He's pretty jacked, man.
I think I would beat Kevin Hart, dude.
You think so?
I think so.
You should call out Kevin Hart.
I think so. We should give him a shout.
And when he's here in Calgary, let's get him
let's
for an
do
arm
it.
wrestle.
Yeah.
Speaking of wrestling, if you were a wrestling superstar, what would your theme song music be as you approach the ring?
What would be my theme song? The Rocky theme song, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
dude. Yeah.
Okay. So I know that you're a huge fan of books. If you're able to write a book about your life,
yes,
what would the title be?
I hope Nike does not sue me. Just fucking do it.
Nice.
Just fucking do it.
I love it. Actually, I'm surprised no one has written a book.
Yeah, just fucking do it, man.
Love it. Love it. What is one movie that made you cry recently that you haven't told anybody?
A lot of movies make me cry because I'm just emotional. I can't remember which one. What movie made me cry? I can't remember, dude. So many. Okay, there was a Christmas movie that I just watched. It didn't make me cry, but what was it called again? It was on Netflix, one of the trending movies. I'm so bad with names, man. I did cry. Well, I can remember one movie that I cried as a kid, The Titanic.
Oh, like
I mean,
every time, even if I watch it now.
Yeah, I know. You know when Leo's just like drowning, you know, going under.
He's just slowly going under.
I even cried at Terminator.
Did you really? Oh, you went to arm
dude, I know. That was emotional, man.
That is why you relate to women,
dude.
Right? You're in tune.
Dude, I was invested, man. Like Arnie, like he was the dude. Like,
yeah.
I was invested, man.
You're in there. Okay. Yeah. Using only 3 words, what comes to mind when you hear this name? Taylor Mosley.
Hurt you hard.
Hurt you hard. There's a story behind that.
Yeah, there is.
Like who Taylor Mosley is.
Taylor Mosley is. I met him through a mutual friend, and at that point, nobody really wanted to work on my music. And singers, I would reach out, even without hearing my music, they would go, I don't think it's the right fit. Never heard my song, but at that point, they were just like, we don't know who the producer is. We're not going to work with him. And I remember I had a mutual friend, and that's how things work in the industry. I had a mutual friend that connected me to Taylor. And not expecting a whole lot, I was like, hey, dude, I'm this producer from Canada. Would you like to work on my song? He's like, send me the demo. I sent him the demo. I sent him the concept of what I had in mind. And and he was nice enough to actually accept it and work on my song, man.
He's the first one.
He definitely. Oh, you know what? There was another first one. There was another a Canadian girl called Amy Kirkpatrick. Okay. This was when I was doing trance music as breakdown. And I was like, I need to do an original song. I reached out to a bunch of singers. They all rejected me. And I reached out to Amy, and I was like, hey, you're cool. You're Canadian. I'm Canadian. Do you want to work on my song? She was like, send me the demo. And, dude, for real, at that time, I was just like, she's not going to say yes. And she actually did. She was the first singer I ever worked with. Wow. We're still in touch, man.
That's awesome. What would you tell both of them if they're watching this right now?
Thank you. Thank you for believing in me.
Awesome.
Absolutely. As cliche as that may sound, thank you. You know what? Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
So again, we talked about you being a gym rat. If Nike, Reebok, Under Armour, or Adidas approach you for a shoe deal, which company would it be? Adidas.
Oh man, Stripes.
Really?
Stripes.
Interesting.
Over checks.
I thought it was gonna be Nike this entire time. You did the fake out. It was Nike, boom.
Dude,
sign Adidas.
Yeah, no, dude. Stripes over checks, man. Okay, Ever since I was a kid, always Adidas.
I would have thought even Under Armour, the underdog.
Yeah, but Adidas, man. Kanye.
All right, cool. Yeah. Okay, so brand and fashion are very important. What is one fashion style that you used to rock but are embarrassed that you did?
FUBU jeans.
Is that right?
Of course.
Oh man.
Yeah, FUBU jeans, man.
So cool.
The baggy. It's actually come back now.
Yeah.
Right, like the whole like the baggy look. The FUBU jeans.
I can't rock that, man.
Yeah, and it was silver. It was like a silver FUBU jeans.
Oh man, if I knew, I would have dug up a picture.
Spiked up hair.
Oh jeez.
The never played basketball. Yes, sort of played basketball, but I used to wear like those basketball jerseys.
Okay.
FUBU jeans and then like basketball shoes.
What advice would you give me to help my brand in fashion? Because you've done such a great job in branding.
Dude, I think I've done okay.
You've done a great job, man. You got that little blue check. Hard to get.
Well, that's somebody thought I needed validation, sure.
Right.
I think you just need to be your authentic self. Often I get caught up with trends and I'm like, that person looks a certain way and this is the fall 21 look. And then I go up to the people that are close to me and I'm like, hey, what do you think if I rock that? And they'd be like, nah, don't do it. I think fashion comes from an authentic place. So if you like rocking suits, and if that's who you are, rock suits.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Indian dish?
I don't know if it's an Indian dish anymore, but it's gonna be butter chicken.
Oh, it has to be.
I mean, it's cream, chicken,
delicious
cream, and the red sauce.
Right. It's just so good. Okay, so you're playing in in the radio. You're in LA in the US. Hollywood's a pretty big industry.
Yes.
Right? It's a big industry, small, like people know each other, but it's actually a big industry.
Right.
However, Bollywood is even bigger.
Of course.
If you were to be in a Bollywood movie, what role would you play?
The dude that's always heartbroken.
Emo.
The emo dude. He's like in a relationship, but this girl leaves him and he gets all dramatic on his feelings. But
he's the hero though.
Yeah, that's right. And then you get to like emotionally fuck with everybody, right? So I want to be that, the sad, like the emo, like the classic heart. I think it goes with my music too.
Yeah. So you're authentic. So you mentioned Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty is one of my inspirations as well.
Right.
He's a mesmerizing guy. So in order of ranking his importance in terms of his mesmerizing power.
Yes.
So rank in order what's most important. The fact that he's a monk, his inspirational message, his British accent, or his piercing eyes.
His piercing eyes.
Yeah. He's like, I can't stop staring.
I know.
I get sucked into
I
it.
know.
Right?
I know.
And his accent.
And yeah, I mean, it's okay for a man to appreciate another man. I think
I think the fact that he's a monk is the last one.
I know the monk is like right at the bottom, but
piercing eyes.
Dude, those eyes. I mean, I was watching his I was watching one of his podcasts today, and I couldn't stop looking at his eyes. And his wife has those same eyes too. It's insane.
Oh man.
Yeah, I wish, man. Jay, you know what? Here's the deal. At one point of my life, I actually wore colored lenses, man.
Did you really?
Oh, shit. Not a good look.
You know what you should do for Halloween? Be Jay Shetty.
I do.
You should be Jay Shetty.
I had blonde hair.
Yeah.
And I would rock like green, yellow colored lenses.
Is that right?
Man.
Oh, shoot.
I know.
So the fire festival was a complete disaster.
Of course.
We know that.
Yes.
If you were to create your own fire festival, who would your top 5 acts be?
Who would my top 5 acts be? Like just in terms of just like DJs.
DJs, money is no object because you're gonna rip off these investors anyways.
Yeah, well,
like fire festival.
So 5 top DJs. I think it goes in
or bands. It could be bands.
It could
be
bands.
artists. It could be Kanye. Who?
Weekend.
Oh yeah,
dude. Then there's got to be Kanye.
Yep.
Then there's gonna be Calvin Harris.
Oh yeah.
Calvin Harris. Then there's gonna be who else? There's gotta be Deadmau5. Okay. I have to throw in Deadmau5 in there because Deadmau5 is he puts on a show.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And then who else? And then of course Tiesto, because he's Tiesto.
3 DJs and 2 artists.
For sure. I mean, although that would be cool though.
Be cool.
Yeah. And dude, I know like people would say Drake. I'm not a huge Drake fan, but I like The Weeknd.
If you could have one artist sing on one of your tracks, who would it be?
The Weeknd.
Really?
Oh, 100%.
Who's a close second?
The close second would be Lana Del Rey.
There's no Bieber in there? Bieber's good.
Bieber's
good, man.
Bieber's good.
Underrated.
I'll do a remix for him, you know?
Bieber's underrated, man.
Yeah. Bieber's manager, Scooter, remix. Yeah.
Remix.
Yeah, for sure.
If you could be mentored by one leader in the world or business leader, who would it be?
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes, absolutely.
Gary V.
Intense.
For sure.
At the filming of this episode, we're currently in lockdown. There are limitations on how many people we can have.
Right.
Imagine you could only invite 5 people to a boys' night out.
Right.
Anybody. Who would it be? Celebrities, anybody.
Oh, just
anybody.
Who would it be?
Who would have it? Five of you guys. Well, you plus 5 guys.
I think we should break it down to friends. I think celebrities is too broad.
Okay. Sure.
You know, like I'll definitely have you there.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah. Have my buddy Richard.
Okay.
Have my buddy Chris. Who else? Who else comes to me?
Toss in The Rock so we can get into.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Rock
some places
for clout.
Yeah, some clout. We can get in. Right?
Yeah, but we should also get well, depending on what the lady thinks, but we should also have like I think we should have a Kardashian in there too.
Okay, tell me why.
Because you say clout, they got the clout, man.
And I got a ton of respect for Kim Kardashian.
I do too, man.
I think she's brilliant.
I think she's a genius.
She's a genius. She's smart. She's underrated.
Woman.
Great businesswoman. She changed the penal system. She freed a lot of people from.
I think she's amazing.
Brilliant.
I think, you know, for me.
Good luck, Kim, if you did your law degree. I know she's studying.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, you know, her and Kanye, like, power couple.
Absolutely.
Right. So
you'd invite Kim and not Kanye?
Yeah, because then Kanye would just say something that makes no sense, and you're like,
all right,
I love the dude, but yeah.
A couple more questions. Why do you think people are not living up to their full potential?
Insecurity and fear. Okay. I think fear is the biggest factor.
If you had 60 seconds with your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Get your shit together, man.
At 18, you didn't have your shit together?
Well, I don't think so.
No, I think you turned out okay.
I think I had my shit together when I was like 24, 25. No. Well, I think when you say shit together, what does that mean? Does that mean direction?
Maybe.
Like direction. So for me, I think as I got into my mid-20s, I think I got more of a direction on where I want to be. I still think I'm trying to get my shit together.
Last question second last question. At this very moment, what are you currently feeling?
That there's so much more that I need to learn. There's so much more I need to do, personally and professionally. I'm still trying to find success and what success means to me. So I'm trying to find the definition of success.
Love it. Jacktrades, what are you currently working on that you could tell the audience? And how can we find you?
Well, I'm working on a lot of new music. I have a new song that's coming out early next year with my record label, Physical Presents, the label that I love, the team that I love. I'm going to be with them for many years. I trust them completely. And I'm basically working on myself. I'm working on my branding. And I'm just working on lots more music, man. I'm just trying to put out the best music I can.
How could we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, just Instagram Jacktrades, Facebook, not TikTok. Where else? Or you can just on YouTube, Spotify. Like basically, just look me up and you'll find me.
You know what I love about you though is you message every single person. You don't have a full team managing your social media. When
Absolutely.
you respond, that is you. That's authentic.
That is just me, man. I think for me, I don't know how long it's going to take to build an organic fan base, because organic fan base is the hardest, but I'm working towards that. So the way you build it is like you build a community around you, and these people are not my fans. They're part of my journey. So yeah, if you're going to support me here, I'm going to support you back.
Mr. Jacktrades, you're one of the most humble, kindest
dude.
people I've met.
Thank you, man.
It's been an honor and privilege having
thank
you
you
on this show. It's a fastest hour and 16 minutes. I know that there's so many things we can talk about. I certainly hope that the audience got a lot out of this. I know I did.
So.
I got a lot out of the fact that you're a real human being, behind the persona of this successful, music person.
Thank you, man.
You're continuing to do things against all odds. When I described you as an underdog, I completely mean it.
Thank you,
but
man.
you know, it's sometimes the best underdogs become the best champions and the ones you root for. So, I appreciate this so much from the bottom of my heart. It took a long time for us to get this together. It was certainly worth it.
Absolutely.
And guys, if you're watching this, please hit up Jacktrades. He's such an unbelievable, amazing human being. He's doing some great stuff, and he's pumping out some great music that can be the soundtrack to your life. Check him out on Instagram and all of his social media. When he responds, it's actually him doing that.
Yep.
And again, if you liked what you heard, subscribe, like, comment, tell us what you learned from this. We're trying to create a community, the RISE community, which stands for Real Individuals Sharing Excellence. And certainly there's a ton of excellence learned here today by the one and only Mr. Jacktrades. Thank you so much.